This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, and welcome you all to another vlog of mine. Bit less of a rambling this time because I do have a specific topic in mind for this particular vlog. And you'll have seen the title already, so you know what I'm about to say. Days Gone is the one game... Well, there's lots of games in the PlayStation world that I'm looking forward to. You've got the God of War, you've got the Spider-Man, you've got, you know, The Last of Us 2. There's loads of stuff coming. But the one that I'm most excited about is Days Gone, and it's simply because I want a world like The Walking Dead where I can live and breathe in that world, have some fun in that world, but I want it to be dark, and I want it to be violent, and I want it to be as brutal as you could imagine it would be in that sort of zombie apocalyptic type world. And the only game that's got anywhere close to that was The Last of Us, which, as anyone who follows me knows, that's my favourite game ever. And The Last of Us 2 is obviously... I kind of take it back. The Last of Us 2 that is a massive look forward to for me. But at the moment, I think Last of Us 2, I think, is going to be one of the last games in the cycle of this gen of PS4, and then we'll be on to PS5 after that. So I think much like The Last of Us was the last thing to come out of, big thing to come out of the PS3 before everything moved on, I'm pretty sure that's the same with The Last of Us 2. So at the moment, the thing I'm most excited about, and I'm still holding a little bit of faith that we might get this game this year, although it's not been announced, and they certainly didn't even give a month or a year at E3, unlike some of the other games. So I'm still crossing my fingers, but if it doesn't come out, it's fine. I'd rather it was, as always, rather it was right than wrong and be out a bit later. So I wanted to do a little vlog on it, and what spurred this on was that I saw an alternate show-off from E3 recently. It was kicking around the PlayStation site, so I shall whip that up behind me when I'm talking about it, and you'll be able to see, anyone who saw the original version of this demo will see what they're basically trying to get across to us is that this is a living, breathing world. It's not like The Last of Us where you're on a linear path, and you know, much as though I love The Last of Us, it's a linear-ish story. Well, it's a linear story with a linear-ish world. I mean, you get some freedom to roam about, but it is on a linear path. There's only so many buildings you can go into. There's only so many paths you can take. This is an open world, and it has options, and it has the same things that can happen. If you play this game twice, you'll get the same mission, but you'll get it at different times of the year, and you'll get it at a different time of day, and there'll be, you know, a gazillion different factors. Well, gazillion might be a bit of a stretch, but there'll be many different factors that decide how your experience of that particular mission plays out. And what I loved about this demo was it showed all of that off, and you'll see through the playthrough, and I've made notes here, I will refer to them, people, because there was quite a few little things I was picking up on, that when you see Deacon, who's the main character, when you see him jump on his motorcycle and go off to do this quest, in this particular version it's snowing, it's daytime, which are two very different factors from the first demo we saw, which was nighttime and not winter or something like that. So it's a completely different setting. It's in the same location, but clearly it depends on when you pick up this quest as to what those are. So, well, what those variables are. So I love that. I love the fact that maybe that's a quest I stumble on. I mean, it might well be a quest you stumble on early, and it just depends on what your run through of the game is running year-wise. I've got no idea, but it could be one of those quests. I suspect it's one of those quests that you can pick up at any time. It's just an open map, and therefore you pick that quest up at some point on your journey, and there you go. It depends on the time of day and the time of year. And he zooms off on the motorbike, and they're very quick to point out that the weather affects the way the motorbike drives around. So the weather, like you would expect in any car racing game, the weather affects how you control the bike. It's more slippy, it's sliding around. You've got to take more time to control it, maybe go a little bit slower, and so on. They also show off pretty quickly that if I wasn't talking over this video that I'm showing you actually has two guys from them. Well, one of them's the guy that plays Deacon, I think, and the other one is one of the main developer guys. And they are very quick to point out that he doesn't, in the first show off, he gets attacked by wolves while he's on the bike driving along, and he has to turn around and start shooting them. In this one, that doesn't happen. He also gets clotheslined by a trap that's been set out by hunters, but in this one he spots it and avoids it, so that he doesn't have to do that. So all of these variables, I mean, there's nothing linear about it. Like, it's entirely up to you as to what you spot and as to what you do. It's entirely up to the game as to what time of year it is, as to what time of night it is or day it is, that whether you get wolves or not is that they do say that the enemies that you will see will be determined somewhat by the time of day and the time of year. So it's also interesting to point out they're not calling them zombies in this game, they're calling them freakers, which I quite like. I think the word zombie's been done to death now, and I quite like the word freakers as well. I think it works really well. And I'm kind of, it's nice to have, we know it's a zombie game, but it's nice to have just a different sound to it, because it's like zombie, 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 zombie. The whole thing, like, it's been done to death. So having a new word to spin around, it sounds stupid to say it's something I like or even notice, but I do like the fact they've come up with a new name for zombies, because it's just been the same thing over and over again. And to be fair, when zombies, well, in fact, zombies, I don't know if the Walking Dead's one to go with, but zombies by nature are slow and all that sort of stuff. The dead people in this game, in fact, I'm not sure actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and I should have read up on this before I did it, but actually I'm not sure that these people, I think they're not dead, and that's why they're not called zombies. I think they're called freakers, because it's a bit like The Last of Us. It's possible that they're not dead, they're still alive, and they're just heavily infected or whatever by something. So it is, it is a case of, it could be more like The Last of Us than it is zombies. But it feels like a zombie game, and it isn't like The Last of Us so far as, that you will get. It doesn't really show off in this particular clip, but in the other version of this that they showed, he blows up a sort of dam or a wall that they're protected, and it draws a massive amount of the freakers to come running through and destroy the camp. And there's just loads of them, And the very first clip I ever saw of this game was just swarms of them. There was hundreds of them chasing this guy all the way through Deacon, all the way through this. Whether that's part of the game or not, I don't know. That could have been a demo, but it's a mass-on shooter zombie freaker game, and it's not like The Last of Us so far as you do have to try and conserve ammo and stuff, I think, because they were talking in this demo about the fact that you do switch weapons a lot to try and use up different types of ammo that you've collected. So I think there is a limitation there. It's not like you just got this endless supply of ammo. And I think we see him with a crossbow, we see him with a sniper rifle, we see him with a machine gun, I think a pistol as well. And so you've got a massive variety of different things weapon-wise. You've also seen them use the melee weapons like the axe and a knife, I think, at one point. And it's brutal, it's like proper axe in the head and all this sort of stuff. So everything, though, if you look at it, I'm going to look at my notes again now just to make sure I've not missed anything. And it does have this massive sort of... That was a big pause, wasn't it? While I was reading my notes, people. So it does... I was going to mention this bit at the end. I'm going to mention it now because of what I've just said about melee weapons and stuff. To me, looking at this game, looking how beautiful it looks, looking how good it plays, looking how smooth it runs, looking at how the character moves, and everything about what I've seen in this game says to me that this is The Last of Us' engine, but being used as an open world. Because even the movement of this guy Deacon, the way that he's got the weapons on his back, the way that he switches around with them, the survival vision, as they call it in this, where you can go into survival vision and like you do most of these games where you can, like Joel can see through the walls and all that stuff, that's in there. You see him duck down and use it and spot traps and all that sort of stuff. And it really, really, really feels like The Last of Us engine to me. And it does feel like they've had heavy, heavy, heavy connections with Naughty Dog in the build-up, either in the build-up of this to making this game or in the whole development of this game. And to me, that is not a bad thing at all. And to be quite honest with you, it feels a little bit like that with God of War as well. But, I could be completely wrong. But I get a real feeling that Sony have been really clever and they've got all of their studios communicating with Naughty Dog, to some level, to understand how they get such a beautiful and consistent and just awesome end product. And why not use their engine? Because what's the point of building a new one when you've got one already that people loved in The Last of Us? So, I mean, it's not a bad thing at all. You know, I said to my son ages ago, I said, if I could get The Last of Us as an open world game, I'd love that. Because I'd love to be able to live and breathe in that world and try and survive and collect and, you know, and have it as almost a proper RPG, which is what Days Gone seems to be giving us. A lot of RPG elements, a lot of living, breathing world, open world. So it will be very interesting to see just how big this world is and how many things we've got to do in it and how long we live in it for before we run out of things to do. And I'm just really excited for this game, and I'm going to be a bit gutted if it doesn't come this year, but it's okay. I'll wait. But I'm really surprised there's not a big game coming from Sony this year. I mean, and there may well be, but I would have expected them to say it at E3. Now, it could be they're just biding their time to another convention to announce it then, once they've built up enough hype, but I'm just surprised there's not one, because we've all been waiting for ages. But again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just frustrating because they've got so many good games that we're dying to play. And I think to some extent they might end up with at some point having a game a month launched because they've got that many coming out and they'll all kind of, you know, be ready at the same time. So with the exception of The Last of Us, which I think will be way further down the road. I mean, there's a chance that The Last of Us is further on than I think it is, but I don't think so, because the people that are working on The Last of Us are the people that were working on Uncharted 4, and, you know, not the DLC as such, because I know Neil Druckmann wasn't working on that, but he certainly was ahead of the main game. So I can't imagine that they were working on The Last of Us 2 to any massive extent until that was finished. So, yeah. And what else have we got, people? So this is what I had on my list. I'm going to read through it in case we missed anything. So we had the fact that this demo was at daytime, not nighttime, winter, not any other time of the year. We had the bike riding weather effects being affected by riding the bike. And we had no wolves chasing. We had Deacon saw the ambush and avoided the ambush clothesline. We had freakers, not zombies. Weather and day-night effects, enemies that attack, which is quite interesting. So certain enemies come out during the day and some come out at night. Some come out in the cold, some come out in the warm. We have stealthy run through. This was a particularly stealthy run through because in the first one he kind of just obliterates everything, blows up the wall, lets the zombies run through. In this one, he's sneaking around just about everywhere. And he did say in the demo, actually, that you see him using the sniper rifle, but he uses it from fairly close to the camp. But he said if you travel up this map on your bike, he said there's a really high point where you can see the camp from, and it's miles away. He said you could actually pick off most of the camp from there with the sniper rifle if you had enough ammo. And it would take them that long to find you that you could probably avoid any confrontation close hand with them, which is pretty cool. Which again just emphasises how open this game is. Well, how open the game and the map is, for that matter. So that was really cool to hear, because it just says that it's entirely up to you how you want to play through it, which I love. Yeah, they talked about how brutal the combat was, but again, fantastic. Again, just like The Last of Us, you want it to be as brutal as possible and as realistic as that world would be. And the fact that you could see, the survival vision, you could see the tracks of things, you could see the traps, you could, there's obviously all sorts of things you could do. They do talk about the fact that, again, these are things that you upgrade, so they will get more powerful as you play the game, or you might not have them in the game at all. I mean, I don't know what the extent of that is, but much like Joel's abilities and such, like, you can make them better so that you can go into survival vision for longer than you could at the beginning, and that sort, or see further, that sort of thing. And there was a thing called the meat wall. You'll see it again in the video. There's all these upside down hanging freakers, and you've got to get through. It's a trap that's built by humans, and they basically dangle them while they're still living. And when you walk through it, they try and bite you and everything, which is quite cool. So they're going to be littered around the place. And they're very key. They are very specific about saying they're living, breathing creatures. So they definitely aren't zombies. So it'll be interesting to see what the spin is on the disease or what it is they've got. It's almost like what's it called now? I I might remember by the end of this video. The one where he wakes up in London and it's all deserted and all that malarkey. 28 days later. I think it's a bit more like that. So you've almost got the zombie thing happening because they had a rage virus, didn't they, where they could run really fast. And that's what these guys are like, the freakers. How many different types of freakers there are, we don't know, other than we've seen the main freakers and we've seen right at the end of this clip, you see a bear that's been turned as well. And there's this massive freaker bear which just looks, you know, stupidly horrible and you don't really want to be fighting it. But we will because it's exciting. And Snipe Way Off we've talked about. And that was it. Well, yeah, we talked about it. Another thing that made me feel like it was a bit Last of Us-y was the way that he was, when he was ducked in cover and throwing grenades out and that sort of stuff, and the melee weapons, it all felt like the same mechanic. So it's interesting, and that's not a bad thing for me, because I'd love to have that mechanic. And I love the look of the character, I love the fact he's a biker, the fact that I can't think of any other open world game where they've used a motorbike. I mean, I think that's brilliant. I mean, why no one's ever done it before is an absolute mystery. I'm sure, like GTA and all that, you can use motorbikes. But you know what I mean? It's like your core vehicle. I think you can only have the motorbike. In fact, you can. I'm not sure if you can drive other vehicles, but that is your core ride, and you can upgrade it throughout the entire game. You make it better, you put bits on it, and you keep improving it, which I love. So, it's your steed. So I love that. It's kind of a modern way of doing the Red Dead Redemption type thing where you can ride your horse anywhere. You can take the bike anywhere. As you see in that clip, there's nothing stopping him from just going through the woods and the trees and through shallow rivers and streams, all that sort of stuff showing off. So it looks really cool. And as I say, the reason I wanted to do this particular vlog is because it is the one I'm most excited about, with the exception of The Last of Us 2, which is way off. And that's not to say that I'm not excited about all the other ones coming. I am, but and 7 people, look at that. It's just that that's the one that if I had to pick out of all of them right now at this particular point in time, that's the one I'd want, because I want that Walking Dead type world where I can just sort of live and breathe in it. So I'm very excited. I hoped kind of to get that from State of Decay, but I never got it. And when Xbox showed off State of Decay 2 at E3, I wasn't overly impressed with it. I mean, maybe it'll look better when I see it hands-on or in a demo or something, but it really didn't blow my mind at all. It looked as basic and clunky as the first one. It's almost like they just went, well, people want to play together, so we'll make it co-op, but it'll not be much more than the other one was. Because the other one was... you start playing it and it's kind of okay, but I didn't get the whole hype around it. It was kind of okay for a bit, and then I just got a bit bored. And it was clumsy a bit, and it was sticky, and it wasn't... in my opinion, it's not a AAA game. So it must be made by a smaller studio, I think. Although Microsoft own the rights for it, I'm not sure they own the studio. But anyway, we'll see. So I'm really looking forward to it. There was, by the way, on another note, I'm done about that now. Days gone. Has gone. And just because I did a video, my last vlog was all about the games that I purchased. And just after I made that video, the following day, I saw another deal going on, which I just couldn't resist, people. I couldn't resist it. It would have been rude not to buy it, frankly. So I have also picked up Prey, because I saw it for like £22 or something. So, yeah, I ordered that the following day, and it's another one to get through. I did say in one of my other vlogs I was a bit disappointed with it because it didn't feel enough Dead Spacey for me. It felt too much like go and find the card to get through the door, to get out of this area, to go into another area, to find another card, to get through another... And from what I've heard other people saying after I did that vlog, I think it's not quite as like that in the actual main game. I think the demo was a bit more like that, and I think the demo was a bit less interesting than the main game, which is fairly acceptable. So anyway, for £22, absolutely gonna play it at some point. So there you are, there's my rambling for today. We're getting into a habit of doing these things on a Saturday for some reason. I'm sitting, the one thing that has changed behind me is that my new two-seater sofas arrived today. So the little chill out area has now got the two-seater in it, which is actually a little bit bigger than I thought it was for through there. So I'm going to have a little think about that area. But it's all right. For now, I've got my guitars. I've got the little two-seater through there. And we have the proper sofas around the living room. Well, we have 2 now as opposed to 1. So that was very exciting, wasn't it? Well, it was for me. I was actually standing there today going, oh yes, this is a bit bare. I need some cushions. Yeah, I'm becoming this little. I have this little internal sort of decorator growing within me. Now that I have a full house, I feel like I've got a full decorating mode, and I have that every time I look at something. I'm like, oh, maybe I need one of them. I have this non-stop list of things on my phone that's like, oh, I should do one of them and blah. I was looking at there's a lot of walls with nothing on them. There's a picture beside me here, but I want that picture to go. I've always had it in my head that I wanted to get big canvases of sort of cool gaming wallpapers or movies, that sort of stuff. And for the little music area, maybe something to do with music. So I'm looking into that at the moment. They're not overly expensive, the canvases, and I need probably one, two, three, four big ones, well, really big ones, and then I want some really smaller ones for dotted around the top of the stairs and the spare room and stuff like that. So I've got all that in my head, but again, it's just like, well, I can't do it all at once now. I've spent enough money, people. I shall do it as I go along. But I was looking through, I found a site today where I think you can just upload any picture and they'll put it onto a canvas for you. So I was looking at all sorts of things which I won't tell you about, and maybe I'll do a little vlog on that when I've got some. Well, there you are. It has been, as always, an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog, and I shall see you all next time. Take it easy, folks. Bye.